We're going to read The Three Snow Bears. This story is written and illustrated by Jan Brett. Let's focus on text-to-text connections. This is when the characters, the setting, or events in the story remind us of a story we've read or heard in the past. It can help us to understand our story better. For example, if I've read Charlotte's Web, a story about talking animals on a farm, maybe I've never been to a farm before in real life, but when I pick up a new story about a farm, I already know a little bit about what farms are like. If my new story has animals that talk, it gives me an idea as to what the characters might be like in my new story. Our story takes place on Baffin Island. This is in the Arctic part of Canada, way up north. You can see it. It's the white piece on the map. The people who live here are called the Inuit people. You'll see in our story that these people traditionally, in their culture, used animal hides and fur to make clothes. They traveled by dog sled teams and built igloos for their homes out of the snow. Let's read The Three Snow Bears. On the back of the book, we see the ice floe and a close-up of an igloo, and there's even a stone inukshuk in the corner. When we open up the book, we see Arctic animals, and they're wearing and using objects that Inuit would have made by hand in the past. "Come back!" Aluki shouted as her huskies floated out to sea. Oh no, she knew that although an ice floe is a good place to fish, it is a bad place to lose a dog team. Not far away, a snow bear family had just started to eat their breakfast, but it was way too hot for Baby Bear. Do you know another story that starts this way? "Owie!" yelled Baby Bear. "My breakfast burned my mouth." "We'll go for a stroll and let the soup cool," Mama Bear said. Aluki was running along looking for her dogs when she came upon the biggest igloo she had ever seen. "Who lives here?" she wondered. Aluki ducked inside. Right away she smelled something delicious. Across the room she saw a big bowl, a middle-sized bowl, and a small bowl. Surely the good smell was coming from the 3 bowls. Does Aluki remind you of another character? Think about folk tales. Aluki took a sip from the biggest bowl. "Ow!" she cried out. "Too hot!" She took a sip from the middle-sized bowl. "Ew! Too cold." She tipped up the littlest bowl and drank every drop. She said. "Not too hot, not too cold." Does this story remind you of Goldilocks and the 3 bears? What about the traditional folktale is the same as in our story? Something that's the same is Goldilocks thinks Baby Bear's porridge is just right in the original story, and in our story, Aluki thinks Baby Bear's soup is just right. What are some other things that are the same? In the next room, Aluki spotted 3 pairs of beautiful boots standing in a row. She put on the biggest boot. "Too big," she said. She put on the middle-sized boot. "Too fancy," she said. She put on the littlest pair. "Just right," she said, wiggling her toes in the soft fur lining. Aluki walked into the last room and found a long sleeping bench piled high with fur covers. Heat from an oil lamp warmed her cheeks and made her sleepy. "Time for a nap," she thought. She crawled under the highest mound of covers. "Too lumpy," she grumbled. She tried the middle bed with the furry fringe cover, but sank down so far that she could hardly breathe. "Too soft," she said. She rolled over into the smallest sleeping place. The furry blanket was cozy and warm, and the pillow was just her size. "Just right," Aluki murmured, and was asleep before she could take her boots off. If Aluki hadn't fallen fast asleep, she might have heard her dogs barking happily. Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear had spotted them adrift in the strong current and gone out to save them. The Snow Bear family was pushing Aluki's dog team back toward their igloo and safety. Papa Bear crawled into the igloo and saw his big bowl sitting in a pool of spilled soup. "Someone has been tasting my soup," he roared. Mama Bear rushed in and saw that her soup had been sloshed around too. "Someone has been sipping my soup," she growled. "Someone found my soup," sputtered Baby Bear in her high, squeaky voice, "and they ate it all up." What do you think will happen when the bears continue to look into their house? Who will they find? Papa Bear ran into the next room and saw his boots in the middle of the floor. "Someone's been trying on my boots," he boomed in his big bear voice. Mama Bear put on her fancy boots. "Someone has had these boots on," she huffed, "and the fur is all bunched up." Baby Bear saw that her boots had disappeared. "Someone has taken my boots and left behind these not as good ones," she wailed. The bears ran into their room. "Someone has been sleeping in my bed," Papa Bear bellowed. "Someone has been sleeping in my bed too," Mama Bear cried. Baby Bear peeked at her little bed and squeaked. "Someone has been sleeping in my bed, and here she is." Aluki opened her eyes and saw 3 bear noses only inches away. She hopped out of bed and dove between Papa Bear's huge furry legs. What is the same as Goldilocks and the 3 bears? Quicker than a seal, Aluki ran from room to room until she burst outside. Her huskies bounced around, barking and smiling their doggy grins. What's different from Goldilocks and the 3 bears? Aluki and her dogs flew over the frozen ice, dodging ridges and cracks. She looked back to wave a thank you to the snow bears. She couldn't see them, but she heard a big rough voice, a middle-sized voice, and a high squeaky voice calling to her. "Bye-bye! Bye-bye! Bye-bye!" How did your text-to-text connection help you understand the story?